Good morning, Adventure Kids, and welcome back. Here we are again. It's great to see you. Today we are finishing off our story about Moses. So the last few weeks we've been learning about him, haven't we? We learned about him being born and him being in a basket, and then we learned about a bush that was on fire. And today we are learning about something that they call the Exodus. Basically, that just means the exit from Egypt. It's just a fancy word for it. So I am going to hand over to Tamsin now, and she is going to read the story to us.
Good morning, Adventure Kids. I hope you are having a good day so far. Well, here I am again to read the story. My name's Tamsin. And do you remember last time we heard about how Moses was on his way back to ask Pharaoh to say to Pharaoh, "You've got to let the Israelites go." Well, let me tell you what happened since then. God sent lots of signs to show that he is real. Do you know what he did? He sent a plague of frogs. So there were frogs jumping all over the place, and right in where the king of Egypt lived, he wasn't very happy. And then God sent some gnats and some flies. Can you imagine flies all over the place? It wasn't very nice. And then God sent lots of hailstones, which were throwing down lots of rain and big hailstones. And eventually, the king of Egypt said, "Right, that's it. I can see that God is real, and I've got to let Moses and the Israelites go." So he decided to let them go and so they didn't have to work for him anymore. So today we're going to look at the story and see how Moses and the Israelites got out of Egypt and away from Pharaoh and the king of Egypt. So are you ready? Here we go. So the king of Egypt was told that the people of Israel had already left. But then he and his officers changed their minds about them. They said, "What have we done? We've let the people of Israel leave, and means we've lost our slaves. Well, that's no good. We need to get them back." So the king prepared his war chariot and took his army with him. He took 600 of his best chariots. He also took all the other chariots of Egypt. Each chariot had soldiers in it and were drawn by big horses. The Lord made the king of Egypt very stubborn. He was very stubborn and wasn't going to change his mind. So he chased after the Israelites, who were quite happy now because God was making a way for them and they were feeling victorious and getting out of Egypt. But the king of Egypt came with his horses and his chariot drivers and his army, and they chased the Israelites. They caught up with them while they were camping by the Red Sea. So the Israelites could see the king and his army coming after them. They were a bit frightened and cried out for the Lord for help. They said to Moses, their leader, "What have you done to us now? Why did you bring us out of Egypt just to die here in the desert? We told you in Egypt, leave us alone, let us stay and serve there. And now look, we're just stuck in the desert and we're going to end up here all the time." But Moses answered, "Don't be afraid. Stand still and you will see the Lord save you today. You will never see these Egyptians again after today. You will only need to remain calm. The Lord will fight for you." Well, that's a good promise, isn't it? Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Command the people of Israel to start moving. Raise your walking stick and hold it over the sea, and the sea will split. Then the people can cross the sea on dry land." I've made the Egyptians very stubborn, so they'll have to chase the Israelites. But I will be honoured, and I will defeat the king and all his chariot drivers and chariots. I will defeat the king, and then he will know that I am Lord. So the angel of God usually travelled in front of Israel's army, but now the angel of God moved behind them. And also the pillar of cloud moved in front of the people and stood behind them. So the cloud came between the Egyptians and the people of Israel. The cloud made it dark for the Egyptians, but it gave light to the people of Israel. So the cloud kept the two armies apart all night. Moses did what God told him, and he held his hand over the sea. And all that night the Lord drove back the sea with a strong east wind, and so he made the sea become dry ground. The water was split, and the Israelites walked through the sea on dry land, with a wall of water on both sides of them. Can you imagine that? It must have been so amazing to have been there. So they got through to the other side. But then all the king's horses and their chariots and the chariot drivers and the armies of the Egyptians were following them But do you know what God did? He looked down from the pillar of cloud and the fire at the Egyptian army, and he made them panic. He made the wheels of the chariots, he stopped them from turning, and he made it difficult for them to be driven. The Egyptians shouted, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them and against us Egyptians." Then the Lord told Moses, "Hold your hand out over the sea again, and the water will come back over the Egyptians, their chariots and their chariot drivers." So Moses raised his hand over the sea, and at dawn the water became deep again. The Egyptians were trying to run from it, but the Lord swept them away into the sea. The water became deep again. It covered the chariots and the chariot drivers and the horses. So all the king's army that had followed the Israelites into the sea was covered. Not one of them survived. But the people of Israel, God's chosen people, crossed the sea on dry land. There had been a wall of water on their right and on their left. So that day the Lord saved the Israelites from the Egyptians. The Israelites saw that the Egyptians didn't survive, and when the people of Israel saw the great power that the Lord had used, they feared him and trusted him all the more. Wow, Adventure Kids, that is some story, isn't it, of showing how powerful and amazing God is, and how he saved the people who trusted him, and he parted the sea and they could walk through. Wow, that's an amazing story. And so, Adventure Kids, do you remember we always have 3 points, don't we, that we try and remember from each one? Point number 1, even if it takes a long time, God always comes through and his promises are true. Number 2, the Israelites were wrongly being used as slaves by the king of Egypt and the Egyptians, and it was Moses' job to free them. So sometimes it's right for us to stand up against what's wrong. That's what we can learn from this story. And number 3 is that God protected his people all the way through. He kept them safe, and even when they were faced with a big sea that looks like it might have come over them, God made a way and God looked after them. So God, because you belong to him, is going to look after you too. Bye-bye, Adventure Kids.
Oh, hi Adventure Kids. I'm just experimenting with a bowl of water and a straw to see how hard it would have been for God to blow open the Red Sea. Do you think you could try that if your mum and dad got you a bowl and some water, and see how much effort you need to see right to the bottom of the water? It takes a lot of effort. Anyway, that's not really what I was here to show you today, but it might be something fun to try. Today, we are going to make a picture of the Red Sea parting, like this one here. So, what you will need are 2 pieces of paper, white, and you can colour it in, or coloured card like I've used here, and you could use red for the Red Sea, or you could use blue and green. And then you'll need a pair of scissors, and you'll need a glue stick, and of course you'll need some pens or pencils to colour things in. So, the first thing I'd like you to do is to take one of your pieces of paper and colour it in to make it the colour of the sea, and then get some help from your mum or dad and get them to help you cut the piece of paper in half. And then you need to cut some strips in the piece of paper, but not all the way to the end. Just like this. And you can see I've coloured this one in green and blue for the sea. Just a few more cuts. Be careful with the scissors if you're using them yourself. Probably best to get mum and dad to help with this bit. Right, so there, I've cut strips in both my bits of paper. Then, on the other bit of paper that's going to be the base, like the sand, then I'd like you to draw some pictures in the middle. So of things you might find in the sea. Some of the things I thought of were perhaps some starfish or some shells or what else might you find on the bottom of the sea? Some stones. So, once you've done that, the next thing you need to do is you need to take one of your pens or pencils and you wind the strips around the pen or pencil so that you get some curly waves. And they don't all have to be the same. You can do them all different sizes and lengths because water doesn't always do the same thing. So that's one. And then the other one, you do a similar thing. But it was an amazing thing that God did, wasn't it? When he made all that water move back and there was dry land for people to walk on. Like, what an amazing miracle. What a fabulous God we have. So now that we've got the curled up pieces of paper for the water, then we get our glue stick that we love and we stick these bits of paper to the edge of the other piece of paper. Like this. And actually, I quite like this one with the coloured in paper because then you get the white bits at the top, which is like the surf on the top of the waves. So here we have the water being rolled back and the dry land that the children of Israel walked on. I hope you have fun making that, Adventure Kids. See you next time.
Amazing, what a good story, and that activity was so cool. Did anyone have a go? Could you blow and make a gap in the water? Anyone? Hands up. Anyone? No, I couldn't either. Neither could Rachel. But that is such a good story, isn't it? About how God managed to protect the people and he managed to open the sea so that they could walk through on dry land. How amazing is that? So as always, we are going to finish with a prayer. So maybe bow your heads, close your eyes. Dear God, thank you that you protect us and you care for us. Thank you that just as you made a way for Moses and all the Israelites, that you can make a way for us, that you can part a type of Red Sea for us, whatever you need to do to make a way for us to do what your plan is, then you'll do it. And I thank you that you love us and you care for us. And I pray that we all have an amazing week and we really know your protection this week. Amen. Amazing. Well, I have had a lovely time with you this morning, Adventure Kids. I hope you've had an amazing week and that this week you're going into is even better. I can't wait to see you all soon, but for now I'll see you in next week's video. Bye!